The US have decided to rewire their internal market structures to ensure they are more self-reliant and to ensure that more manufacturing and other types of related activities are happening internally in the US. And that makes complete sense from the perspective of the US market. Specifically, if you're an American and you're concerned about where your jobs are going to be coming from in the future, you're kind of feeling like the world as we live in today with, global supply chains and all of that stuff, it makes things feel a lot less certain, a lot less secure than they really should be. Now, the Americans aren't the only nation experiencing those kinds of uncertainties and fears. For some reason, they are the only nation who've decided to take a real serious look at what options they have, what tools exist, what levers can they pull on to impact or affect the direction and the destination of their nation's economy. Canada has been through this sort of massive upheaval before. Back when Prime Minister Brian Mulroney decided to get Canada into the North American Free Trade Agreement in the first place, that had significant impact on Canada's trade in manufacturing products. The idea was to make it cheaper to trade and make it easier and more efficient for products to cross the borders between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. In fact, major infrastructure projects were undertaken in support of the North American Free Trade Agreement. I'd say the United States being the primary beneficiary of those infrastructural changes, which saw major transportation routes through the United States from Mexico up through to the St. Lawrence Seaway to Quebec City, I believe, in Quebec. So yeah, the primary beneficiary being the United States of America. So where are we going to get to? We're going to see more manufacturing brought back to Canada from the United States and Mexico as the supply chain efficiencies that were created around North American Free Trade Agreement and free flow of goods and capital. It's going to take probably 3 to 4 years to really start to get a feel for what the future is going to be. Don't expect this to change. Don't expect to get back to a free trade type environment for at least the next 30 years. These things, once they begin, they kind of take a life of their own. I mean, just look at the political narrative around what's happening right now. I totally get it. The US wants to improve the lot of individual Americans and American families and American households. They have recognized that despite the smoothing of the supply chain of goods in and out of the United States, despite enabling a supply chain that can take advantage in a significant way of economies of scale, the United States have decided that it's more in their interest to bring manufacturing and other capabilities back on shore, to accept that it's going to have an impact on cost to the consumer, but to reorganize their entire nation to ensure that by having more jobs in the United States, more products produced and sold internally in the United States, they're kind of taking the balance of trade question and they're placing it over to the side. And they're really saying, you know what, we don't actually care at this stage about balance of trade. We care about creating opportunities for our people. And as a Canadian, I think Canada should be taking that approach as well. I feel like the economic benefits provided by free trade, the integrated supply chain, which allows companies to take greater advantage of economies of scale, well intended to provide consumers with greater choice because a more open market allows things to be imported from other places. So you can get, for example, locally off-season fruits and vegetables because maybe they are being imported from somewhere like Spain, Israel, or other parts of the world. There's a significant increase in the amount of interoperability between components and parts in automobiles, for example. This interoperability allows for greater competition in terms of who is producing or where are produced those different components. You know, there's going to be a period of adjustment. There's going to be a period of pain, but ultimately, citizens of Canada, the United States, and Mexico are each going to suffer from the transition costs of going from this tightly integrated supply chain that we currently have to a more localized approach to trade going forward. I kind of feel like the messaging around environmental activists and their concerns has led people to the point where they kind of get it. They kind of understand that, you know, you can help improve the environment by reducing the number of miles between manufacture and consumption of products. Also by reducing the impact of the throwaway culture. So go local. Make more jobs available to your local communities. Support your local manufacturers and producers. Trump loves his magical word, tariffs. Cool. That is going to reinvigorate localism. That's going to reinvigorate manufacturing and production capabilities in Canada. There will be a time of transition, a painful period of adjustment to the new way of doing things, to the new routes to market. All the money, time, and energy invested in creating, managing, and monitoring a tightly integrated global supply chain is basically now being thrown away. And I mean, that's kind of to be expected. That's just a normal part of the economic process. It's unfortunate that so many people, myself included, are feeling the pain of these adjustments to global trade, but we can't stop it. It's been decided. The Americans have made the decision. They definitely are all in on localization, and they are all in on protecting and preserving their local employers and their companies, and that makes sense, and Canada should be doing the same. Alright, that's my meaningless thoughts on the current state of trade between the United States and Canada. Going to be painful. Will result in greater stability for the local employment market in Canada. It'll take time. You will find when you get to the other side of this pain, I truly believe you will find it's easier. As the transition progresses, you will begin to see some benefits, such as more local employment opportunities coming up. You will also see some unexpected negatives, such as the inability to get cheap access to certain foodstuffs that you previously were taking advantage of without realizing the global supply chain was making that possible. I don't have any idea what all the impacts of these changes are going to be, but I truly do believe in the next 5 to 8 years, the foundations of the Canadian economy will be significantly more stable. Employment opportunities will become much easier to generate as the local market will demand more if in ways will demand more in ways that I currently can't predict. Uh, I'm sure there are, I'm a bit of a dummy. I'm sure there are actual smart people out there who can tell us where those benefits are going to come from, and who can also provide us with who can tell us where those benefits and opportunities are going to come from, and who can provide us with some guidance on what that journey is most likely to look like. So I'm looking at you economists and I'm looking at you strategic thinkers to come back and tell us where and how this is going to get better and how long that's going to take. I think it's time to stop complaining about these changes. We just got to accept it, dig in, and move forward. Thanks for joining me today to listen to my baseless opinions. Ciao.